unto his death was not in vain. In sleep with the oaken stone upon his breast.
shall we three meet again, in thunder, lightning, or in rain?
When the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won.
That will be ere the set of sun.
Where the place?
Upon the heath.
There to meet with Macbeth.
I come, grey Mawkin.
How it calls.
Anon.
Fair is foul and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air.
What bloody man is that? He can report, as seemeth by his plight, of the revolt the new estate.
This is the sergeant, who, like a good and hardy soldier, fought against my captivity. Hail, brave friend, say to the helm the knowledge of the broil as thou didst leave it.
Doubtful it stood, as two spent swimmers do cling together and choke their heart. The merciless MacDonald, worthy to be a rebel, for that the multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him from the cast-away coast, of currents and gallow-glasses is supplied. And fortune's smile showed, but was all too weak for brave Macbeth, though he deserves that name, disdaining fortune with his brandished steel, which smoked like bloody execution, like Valor's minion carved out the passage till it faced the wretch, which ne'er shook hands nor bade farewell to him, till he unsheathed him from the nave to the chops and fixed his head upon our battlements.
Oh, valiant cousin, worthy gentleman!
Whence the sun against his reflection, shipwrecking storms and direful thunders break, so that when spring wins comfort, swells discomfort. Mark, helm of Silvcroft, mark! No sooner justice had with valor armed, compelled these skipping currents to trust their heels, but the castaway in helm serving vantage with furbished arms and new supplies of men, began a fresh assault.
Dismayed not this our captains, Macbeth and Banquo?
Yes, as sparrows, eagles, and hare the lion. If I say sooth, I must report they were as cannons overcharged with double cracks, so that they doubly redoubled strokes upon the foe, except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds. But I am faint, my gaseous cry for help.
So welt thy words, become Theus thy wounds. The smack of honor both. Go, get him healers. Who comes here?
The worthy sage of Ross.
What haste looks through his eyes? So should he look that seems to speak things strange.
May save the helm.
Whence camest thou, worthy sage?
From kin, great helm, where Castwayan banners flout the sky and fan our people cold. Castworth himself, with terrible numbers, assisted by that most disloyal traitor, the Sage of Valor, began a dismal conflict. Till that the Morrigan's Bibe, lapped with proof, confronted him with self-comparisons. Point against point, rebellious arm against arm, curbing his lavish spirit. And to conclude, the victory fell on us.
Great happiness!
That now Sweno Castworth's helm craves composition, nor would we deem him burial of his men, till he disburseth the Isle of Firth 10,000 honors to our general use.
No! No more that Sage of Valor shall deceive our bosom interest! Go. Pronounce his present death, and with his former title, greet Macbeth.
I'll see it done.
What he hath lost, no more Macbeth hath won.
Where hast thou been, sister?
Killing swine.
Sister, where thou?
A sailor's wife had chestnuts in her lap, and munched and munched and munched. Give me, quoth I. Right thee, witch, the rump-fed Runyon cries. Her husband to Paloa's gone, master o' the Tiger. But in a sev I'll thither sail, and like a rat without a tail, I'll do, and I'll do.
I'll give thee a win.
Thou art kind.
And I another.
I myself have all the other, and the very ports they blow, all the quarters that they know. I, the shipman's card, I'll drain him dry as hay. Sleep shall neither night nor day hang upon his penthouse lid. He shall live a man forbid. Weary 7 nights, 9 times 9, shall he dwindle, peak, and pine. Though his bark cannot be lost, yet it shall be tempest-tossed. Look what I have.
Show me, show me.
Here I have a pilot's thumb, racked as homeward he did come.
A drum, Macbeth doth come.
The weird sisters, hand in hand, posters of the sea and land, thus do go about, thrice to thine and thrice to mine, and thrice again to make up 9. Peace, the charms wound up.
Fair and foul a day I have not seen.
How far is it called to Dunver? What are these? So withered and so wild in their attire that look not like the inhabitants of the earth and yet are on it. Live you? Or you aught that man may question? You seem to understand me, by each one at once her choppy finger laying upon her skinny lips.
Speak if you can. What are you?
All hail Macbeth! Hail to thee, sage of fealty!
All hail Macbeth. Hail to thee, sage of valor.
All hail Macbeth, that shalt be helm hereafter.
Why do you start and seem to fear things that do sound so fair? In the name of truth, are you fantasticaler than indeed which outwardly you show? My noble partner, you greet with present grace and great prediction of sagely having and of helmish hope, that he seems rapt withal. To me you speak not. You can look into the seeds of time, and say which grain shall grow and which shall not. Speak then to me, who neither beg nor fear your favors nor your hate.
Hail!
Hail.
Hail.
Lesser than Macbeth and greater.
Not so happy, yet much happier.
Thou shalt get helms, though thou be none. So all hail Macbeth and Banquo.
Banquo and Macbeth, all hail!
Stay! You imperfect speakers! Tell me more. By Sinel's death I know I am sage of fealty, but how of valor? The sage of valor lives a prosperous gentleman, and to be helm stands not within the prospect of belief, no more than to be valor. Say from whence you owe this strange intelligence, or why upon this blasted heath you stop our way with such prophetic greeting. Speak, I charge you.
The earth hath bubbles as the water has. These are of them. Whither are they vanished?
Into the air, and what seemed corporal melted as breath into the wind. Would they had stayed.
Are such things here as we do speak about? Or have we eaten on the insane root that takes the reason prisoner?
Your children shall be helms.
You shall be helm.
And sage of valor too, went it not so?
The self-same tune and words. Who's there?
The helm hath happily received, Macbeth, the news of thy success. And when reading over thy personal venture in the rebels' fight, his wonders and his praises do contend which should be thine, or his. Silenced at that, looking o'er the rest of the self-same day, he finds thee in the stout Castawayan ranks, nothing afeard of what thyself did make, strange images of death. As thick as tail came post with post, and every one did bear thy praises in his helmdom's great defence, and poured them down before him.
Give thee from our helmish master thanks, only to herald thee into his sight, not pay thee.
And in earnest of a greater honour, he bade me from him call thee Sage of Valor, in which edition hail, most worthy sage, for 'tis thine.
What, can the Huron speak true?
The sage of valor lives. Why do you dress me in borrowed robes?
Sage lives yet, but under heavy judgment bears that life which he deserves to lose. Whether did combine with those of Castworth, or did line the rebel with hidden help and vantage, or that with both he did labor in his helmet's rack, I know not. But treason's capital, confessed and proved, have overthrown him.
Fealty and sage of valor. The greatest is behind. Thanks for your pains. Do you not wish that your children shall also be helms when those that gave sage of valor to me promise no less to them?
That trusted home might yet enkindle you unto the helm besides the sage of valor. But 'tis strange, and oftentimes to win us to our harm, the instruments of darkness tell us truths, win us with honest trifle to betray us in deepest consequence. A word, I pray you.
Two truths are told as happy prologues to the swelling act of the superior theme. I thank you, gentlemen. This supernatural soliciting cannot be ill, cannot be good. If ill, why hath it given me earnest of success commencing in a truth? I am sage of valor. If good, why do I yield to that horrid image that doth unfix my hair and make my seated heart knock at my ribs against the use of nature? Present fears are less than horrible imaginings. My thought, whose murder is yet but fantastical, shakes so my single state of man that function is smothered in surmise, and nothing is but what is not.
Look how our partner's wrapped.
If chance will have me helm, then chance may adorn me, without my stir.
New honors come upon him, like our strange garments cleave not to their mold, but with the aid of use.
Come what come may, time and the hour run through the darkest day.
Worthy Macbeth, we stay upon your leisure.
Oh, give me your favor. My dull brain was wrought with things forgotten. Kind gentlemen, your pains are registered where every day I turn the leaf to read them. Let us toward the helm. Think upon what hath chanced, and the interim having waited, at more time we shall speak our free hearts to each other.
Very gladly.
Till then, enough. Come, gentlemen.
Is execution done on valor? Are not those in commission yet returned?
My helm, they are not yet come back. But I have spoke with one who saw him die, that very frankly did report that he confessed his treasons, implored your reverence's pardon, and set forth a deep repentance. Nothing in his life became him like the leaving it. He died as one that had been studied in his death as to throw away the dearest thing he owed, as for a careless trifle.
There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. He was a gentleman on whom I built an absolute trust. Oh, worthiest cousin! The fault of my ingratitude even now was heavy on me, though art so far before that swiftest wing of recompense is slow to overtake thee. Would thou hadst less deserved, that the proportion both of thanks and payment might have been mine. Only I have left to say, more's I do then, more than all can pay.
The service and the loyalty I owe in doing pays itself. Your reverence part is to receive our duties, and our duties are to your seat and state children and kinsmen, which do everything but what they should, safe toward your love and honor.
Welcome hither. I have begun to plant thee, and will labor to make thee full of grown. Noble Banquo, that haste no less deserved, nor must be known no less to have done so. Let me enfold thee, and hold thee to my heart.
There, if I grow, the harvest is your own.
My plenteous joys, wanton in fullness, seek to hide themselves in drops of sorrow. Sons, kinsmen, sages, and you whose places are nearest to us, know we will establish our state upon our eldest, Malcolm, whom we name hereafter the heir of verity. For which honor must not unaccompanied invest in him only. For signs of nobleness, like stars, shall shine on all deservers. From hence to fealty lock, and bind us further to you.
The rest is labor which is not used for you. I'll be myself the harbinger, and make joyful the hearing of my wife with your approach. So humbly take my leave.
My worthy valor.
The air of verity. That is the step on which I must fall down or leap. Stars, hide your fires. Let not light see my black and deep desires. The eye wink at the hand, yet let that be which the eye fears, when it is done to see.
True, worthy Banquo. He is full so valiant, and in his commendations I am fed. It's a banquet to me. Come, let's after him. Whose care is gone before to bid us welcome? It is a peerless kinsman.
They met me in the day of success, and I've learned by the perfectest report they have more in them than immortal knowledge. When I burn in desire to question them further, they made themselves air, into which they vanished. Whilst I stood wrapped in the wonder of it, came missives from the helm, who all hailed me Sage of Valor, by which title before these weird sisters saluted me, and referred me to the coming on a time with all hail, helm that shalt be. This I thought good to deliver thee, my dearest partner of greatness, so that thou mightest not lose the dues of rejoicing by being ignorant to the greatness that is promised thee. Lay it to thy heart and farewell. Fealty thou art, and valor too, and shalt be all that thou art promised. Yet, I do fear thy nature. 'Tis too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Knowest to be great, are not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. What thou wouldst highly, that wouldst thou holily. Wouldst not play false, yet would falsely win. Thou must have great fealty, that which cries thus, thou must do, but thou rather fearest to do, if thou'st have it. Hie thee hither, so that I may pour my spirits in thine ear, and chastise with the valor of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have helmed thee withal. What is your tidings?
The helm comes here tonight.
Thou art mad to say it. Is not thy kinsman with him, who were so to have informed for preparation?
So please you, it is true. Our sage is coming. One of my fellows had the speed of him, who, almost dead for breath, had scarcely more than would make up his message.
Give him tending. He brings great news. The raven himself is hoarse, that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan. Under my battlements. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thought. Unsex me here, and fill me from head to toe, top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the passage and access remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shall shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and it. Come to my woman's breasts and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers, wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief. Come, thick night, and pall me in the densest smokes of woe, and my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor odal peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, hold, hold! Great fealty, worthy valor, greater than both by the all hail hereafter. Thy letters have transported me past this ignorant moment, and I feel the future now in the instant.
My dearest love, Duncan comes here tonight.
And when goes hence?
Tomorrow, as he purposes.
Oh, never shall sun that morrow see. Your face, my sage, is as a book where men read strange matters. To beguile the time, look like the time. Bear welcome in your hand, your eye, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent underneath it. He that's coming must be provided for, and you will put this night's great business into my dispatch, which to all our nights and days to come give solely helmish sway and masterdom.
We will speak further.
Only look up clear. To alter favor ever is to fear. Leave all the rest to me.
This castle, it's such a pleasant seat. The air, so nimbly and sweetly, recommends itself unto her gentle senses.
This guest of summer, the temple-haunting martlet, 'tis approved by his loved mansionry, the Odil's breath smells wooingly here. This bird hath made his pendant bed and procreant cradle. Where they most breed and haunt, I have observed, the air is delicate.
See, our honored hostess. The love that follows us sometime is our trouble, which still we thank as love. Herein I teach you how you shall bid May wildest for your pains, and thank us for your trouble.
All our service, in every point twice done, then done double. We're poor and single to contend with those honors, deep and broad, wherewith your verity loads our house. For those of old and the dignities heaped up to them, we rest your hermits.
Where is the Sage of Valor? We coursed him at the hills and had a purpose to be his purveyor. But he rides well, and his great love, sharp as his spur, had helped him to his home before us. Fair and noble hostess, we are your guests tonight.
Your kinsmen ever have theirs, themselves, and what's in their compt, to make their attempt at your reverence's pleasure, still to return your own.
Give me your hand. Conduct me to mine host. We love him highly, and shall continue our graces towards him. By your leave, hostess.
If it were done when 'twere done, it were well if it were done quickly. If the assassination could trammel up the consequence and catch with his Circe's success, that but this blow might be the be-all and the end-all here. But here, upon the bank and shoal of time, we jump the life to come. But we still have judgment here, that we but teach bloody instruction, which, being taught, return to plague the inventor. This even-handed justice commends the ingredients of our poison chalice to our own lips. He's here in double trust. First, as I am his kinsman and his subject, strong both against the deed. Then, as his host who should against the murderer shut the door, not bear the knife myself. Besides, this Duncan hath borne his faculties so meek, hath been so clear in his great office that his virtues will plead like spirits, trumpet-tongued against the deep damnation of his taking off. And pity, like a naked newborn babe striding the blast, or Odil's innocent horsed upon the sightless couriers of the air, will blow the horrid deed in every eye, that tears will drown the wind. I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition, which falls down and o'erleaps itself, and... How now? What news?
He's almost slept. Why have you left the chamber?
Hath he asked for me?
Know you not he has?
We will proceed no further in this business. He hath honored me of late, and I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which will be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon.
Was Hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself? Hath it slept since? And wakes it now to look so green and pale at what it did so freely? From this time such I count thy love. Art thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor, as thou art in desire? Wouldst thou have it, which thou esteemest the ornament of life, and live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would, like the cat in the adage?
Peace. I dare do all that may become a man. Who dares do more is none.
What beast was it then that made you break this enterprise to me? When you durst do it, then you were a man. And to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man. Nor time nor place did then adhere, yet you would be both. They have made themselves, and that their fitness now does unmate you. I have given suck, and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it were smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I so sworn as you had done to this.
If we should fail...
We fail! But screw your courage to the sticking place, and we'll not fail. When Duncan is asleep, whereto his day's hard journey will soundly invite him, his two chamberlains will I with wine and with sail, so convince that memory, the warder of the brain, is a fume, and the receipt of reason a limbeck only. When in swinish sleep their drunken natures lies as in a death, what cannot you and I perform upon the unguarded Duncan? What not put upon his two spongy kinsmen, who shall bear the guilt of our great quell?
Bring forth men, children only, for thy undaunted mettle should compose nothing but males. Will it not be received when we have marked with blood those two of his very chamber, and use their very daggers, that they have done it?
Who dares receive it other, as we shall make our griefs and clamor roar upon his death?
I am settled, and bound up each corporal agent to the spear. Away, and mock the time with fairest show. False face must hide what the false heart doth know.
How goes the night, boy?
The moon is down. I have not heard the clock.
And she goes down at 12.
I take it 'tis later, sage.
Hold, take my sword. There's husbandry in Odil. Their candles are all out. Heavy summons lies like lead upon me, and yet I would not sleep. Merciful powers, restrain in me the cursed thoughts that nature gives way to in repose. Give me my sword. Who's there?
A friend.
Oh, what sage? Not yet at rest? The helm's abed. He hath been in unusual pleasure, and sent forth great largesse to your offices. This diamond he greets your wife withal, and by the name of most kind hostess shut up in measureless content.
Being unprepared, our will became the bearer to defect, which else should free have wrought.
All's well. I dreamt last night of the three weird sisters. To you they have showed some truth.
I think not of them. Yet, when we have an hour to serve, we could spend it in some words upon that business, if you would grant the time.
At your kindest leisure.
If you shall cleave to my consent, it shall make honor for you.
So I lose none in seeking to augment it, but still keep my bosom franchised and allegiance clear. I shall be counseled.
Good repose the while.
Thanks, Sage. The like to you.
Is this a dagger I see before me? The handle toward my hand? Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. Art thou not? Fatal vision, sensible to feeling as to sight? Or art thou a dagger of the mind? A false creation, proceeding from a heat-oppressed brain. I see thee still, in form as palpable as this which I now draw. Thou marshallest me the way that I was going, and such an instrument as I was to use. Oh, my eyes are made the fools of the other senses! Or else, worth all the rest. I see thee still! And on thy blade in dungeon, gouts of blood, which was not so before. There is no such thing. It is the bloody business which informs thus to mine eyes. Now, o'er the one-half world seems dead, and wicked dreams do abuse the curtained sleep. Thou sure and firm set earth, hear not my steps, which way they walk, for fear my very stones prate of my whereabouts, and keep the present horror from the time. Whiles I threat, he lives. Words to the heat of deeds too cold breath gives. I go and it is done. The bell invites me. Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to Odil or to woe.
hath made them drunk, hath made me bold. Hath quenched them, hath given me fire. Peace. It was the owl that screeched. The fatal bellman which gives the sternest good night. He's about it. The doors are open and the surfeited grooms do mock their charges with snores. I've drunk their posets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die.
What? Oh, who's there?
Alack, I'm afraid they've awakened, and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. Hark! I lay their daggers ready. He could not miss them. Had he not looked like my father as he slept, I had done it. My husband?
Indeed, didst thou not hear a noise?
I heard the owl scream, the crickets cry. Didst not you speak?
When?
Now.
Is I descended?
Aye.
Hark, who lies in the second chamber?
Don't obey.
This is a sorry sight.
A foolish thought to say a sorry sight.
There's one did laugh and sleep, and one cried murder, that they did wake each other.
There are two lodged together.
One cried, may bless us, and peace. The other, as they'd seen me with these hangman's hands, listening their fear. I could not say peace when they did say may bless us.
Consider it not so deeply.
Wherefore could I not pronounce peace? I had most need a blessing, and peace stuck in my throat.
We must not think of these things after these ways so. It will make us mad.
Sleep no more. Macbeth has murdered sleep, the innocent sleep, sleep that knits up the raveled sleep of care, death of each day's life, poor labor's bath, balm of hurt minds, second nature's life course, chief nourisher in life's feast.
What do you mean?
Scylla cried, sleep no more. Fealty hath murdered sleep, and then Valor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more.
My noble sage, you do unbend your strength to think so gray and sickly of things. Go, get some water and wash this filthy witness from her hand. Why did you bring the daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go, carry them and smear the sleeping rooms with blood. Go.
I'm afraid to look on what I've done. I dare again go I not.
Infirm of purpose! Give me the daggers! The sleeping and dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears a painted armor on.
What hands are here? Whence is that knocking? How is it with me that every noise appalls me? What hands are here? They pluck out mine eye. Will all great Nodens wash the blood clean from this hand? No. This my hand will rather the multitudinous seas incarnadine, making the green one red.
My hands are of your color, but I shame to wear a heart so white. Hark, I hear knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. A little water clears us of the steed. How easy it is then. Your constancy hath left you unattended. Hark, we're knocking you. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion cause and shows to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts.
To know my deed, 'twere best not know myself. Wake Duncan with thy knocking. I would thou couldst.
Here's a knock Shocking indeed. If a man were porter of Woegate, he should have old turning the key. Knock, 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 knock.
Who's there in the name of Underworld's helm? Huh. Faith.
Here's a farmer who hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. Come in time, have napkins enough about you. Here you'll sweat for it.
Knock, knock, knock. Who's there in the name of Underworld's helm? Huh. Faith.
Here's an equivocator. An equivocator who could swear on both the scales against either scale, and committed treason enough for May's sake, yet could not equivocate to Odil. Come in, equivocator. Knock, knock. Who's there? Here's a frugal tailor, come hither for stealing out of a large hose. Come in, tailor. Here you may roast your goose. Knock, knock, knock.
Never a quiet. Who are you?
Ugh. This place is too cold for woe. I'll evil porter it no further. I had thought to have let in some of all professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. Anon, anon! I pray you, remember the porter!
Was it so late, friend, ere you went to bed, that you do lie so late?
Faith, Sage, we were carousing till the second cock, and drink, Sage, is a great provoker of 3 things.
What 3 things does drink especially provoke?
Marry, Sage. Nose painting, sleep, and urine. Lechery, Sage. It provokes and unprovokes. It provokes the desire, but takes away the performance. It makes him, mars him, sets him on, takes him off. It persuades him and disheartens him. Makes him stand to and not stand to. In conclusion, equivocates him in a sleep and, giving him the lie, leaves him.
I believe drink gave thee the lie last night.
That it did, Sage, I the very throat on me, but I requited him for his lie, and I think, being too strong for him, though he tried to take up my leg sometime, I made a shift to cast him.
Is thy master stirring? Our knocking is awaked, and here he comes.
Tomorrow, noble sage.
Tomorrow both.
Is the helm stirring, worthy sage?
Not yet.
You command me to call timely on him, and I've almost slipped the hour.
I'll bring you to him.
I know this is a joyful trouble to you, but yet 'tis one.
The labor we delight in physics pain. This is the door.
Make so bold to call, for 'tis my limited service.
Goes the helm hence today?
He does. He did appoint so.
Night has been unruly. Where we lay, our chimneys were blown down. And as they say, lamentings heard in the air, strange screams of death and prophesizing with accents terrible of dire combustion and confused events. The obscure bird clamored in the livelong night. Some say the earth was feverish and did shake.
'Twas a rough night.
My young remembrance cannot parallel a fellow to it.
Horror! 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 The thunder horror cannot conceive nor name thee.
What is the matter?
What's the matter?
Confusion now hath made his masterpiece. Most horrifying. Murder hath broke up the maize-anointed temple and stole from thence the life of the building.
What is it you say, the life?
Mean you his verity?
Approach the chamber and destroy your sight with a new horror. Do not bid me speak. Go and speak yourselves. Awake! Awake! Ring the alarm bell! Murder and treason! Bakewell! Malcolm Donalbain, awake! Oh. Shake off this dowdy sleep, death's counterfeit, and look on death itself! Up! Up and see the great dome's image! Bakewell! When Malcolm, it's from your grave! Rise up and walk like sprites to countenance this horror! Ring the bell!
What's the business of such horrible trumpets called to parley the sleepers of this house? Speak, speak!
Gentle Lily, 'tis not for you to hear what I can speak. The repetition the woman's here would murder as it felt. Bakewell! Bakewell! Our Elmish master's murdered.
Oh, alas! What? In our house?
Anywhere. Dear Duff, I prithee contradict thyself and say it is not so.
Had I but died an hour before this chance, I had lived a blessed life. For from this instant there's nothing serious in mortality. All is but toys. Renown and grace is dead. The wine of life is drawn, and the mere lees is left the vault to brag of.
What is amiss?
You are, and do not know it. The spring, the head, the fountain of your blood is stopped. The very source of it is stopped.
Elmish father's murdered.
By whom?
Those of his chamber, as it seems, have done it. Their hands and faces were all badged with blood, and so were their daggers, which unwiped we found upon their pillows. They stared and were distracted. No man's life was to be trusted with them.
Oh, yet I do repent me in my fury that I did kill them.
Wherefore did you so?
Who can be wise, amazed, temperate and furious, loyal and neutral, all in a moment? No man. The expedition of my violent love outrun the pause of reason. Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood. His gashed stabs looked like a breach in nature against ruin's wasteful entrance. And there, the murderers, steeped in the colors of their trade, their daggers unmannerly breached with gore. Who could refrain that had a heart to love, and in that heart courage to make love known?
Oh, help me, hence. Oh.
Look to the lily!
Why do we hold our tongues, that most may claim this argument for ours?
What should be said here, where fate, hid in an augur hole, may rush and seize us? Let's away. Our tears are not yet brewed.
Nor our strong sorrow upon the foot of motion.
Look to the lily. And when we have our naked frailties hid that suffer in exposure, let us meet and question this most bloody piece of work to know it further. Fears and scruples shake us. In the hand of May, I stand, and thence against this undivulged pretense I fight of treasonous malice.
So do I.
So all.
Go all. Let's briefly put on manly readiness and meet in the hall together.
Well contended.
Well contended.
What will you do? Let's not consort with them. To show an unfelt sorrow is an office which the false man does easy. I'll to Kilnhold.
To Greyshire, I. Our separated fortune shall keep us both the safer. Where we are, there's daggers and men's smiles. The nearer in blood, the nearer bloody.
This murderous shaft that shot hath not yet lighted, and our safest way is to avoid the aim. Therefore to horse, and let us not be dainty of leave-taking, but shift away. There's warrant in that theft which shields itself when there's no mercy left.
can remember well, within the volume of which time I have seen hours dreadful and things strange. But this sore night hath trifled former knowings.
Good father, thou seest the dark skies, as troubled with man's act, threatens his bloody stage. By the clock 'tis day, and yet dark night strangles the travelling lamp. Is the night's predominance or the day's shame that darkness does the face of earth and tomb, when living light should kiss it?
It's unnatural, even like the deed that's done. Tuesday last, a falcon, towering in her pride of place, was by a mousing owl hawked at and killed.
And Duncan's horses, a thing most strange but certain, beauteous and swift, minions of their race, turned wild in nature, flung out, contending 'gainst obedience as they would make war with mankind.
'Tis said they eat each other.
And they did so, to the amazement of mine eye that looked upon it. Here comes the good Macduff. How goes the world, sage, now?
Oh, I see you not.
Is it known who did this more than bloody deed?
It was that Macbeth had slain.
Alas the day, what good could they pretend?
They were suborned. Malcolm and Donalbain, the helm's two sons, are stolen away and fled, which puts on them suspicion of the deed.
Against nature still. Thriftless ambition, that will raven up thine own lives' means. And 'tis most likely the helmdom seat will fall upon Macbeth.
He's already named, and gone to Oak to be invested.
Where is Duncan's body?
Carried to Kilcombe, the sacred storehouse of his predecessors and guardian of their bones.
Will you to Oak?
No, cousin. I'll to Kim.
Well, I will thither.
May you see things well done there. Adieu. Let our old verb sit easier than our new.
Farewell, father.
May his benison go with you, and with those that would make good of bad, friends of foes. Thou hast it now. Helm, valor, fealty, all as the weird women promised. And I fear thou playedst most foully for it. Yet, it was said it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many helms. If there come truth from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, their speeches shine, why, by the verities on thee made good, may they not be my oracles as well, and set me up in hope? But hush, no more.
Here is our chief guest.
If he'd been forgotten, it had been as a gap in our great feast, an all thing unbecoming.
Tonight we hold a solemn supper, sage, and I'll request your presence.
Let your reverence command upon me, to the which my duties are with a most indissoluble tie forever knit.
Ride you this afternoon?
Aye, my good helm.
We should have else desired your good advice, which has been both grave and prosperous in this day's council, but we'll take tomorrow. Is it far you ride?
As far my helms will fill up the time twixt this and supper. Go not my horse the better, I must become a borrower of the night for a dark hour or twain.
Fail not our feast.
My helm, I will not.
We here are bloody cousins, are bestowed in Kilnhold and in Greyshire, not confessing their cruel parricide, filling their hearers with strange invention. But of that tomorrow, when therewithal we shall have cause of state craving us jointly. Are you to your horse? Adieu, till you return at night. Goes Fleance with you?
Die, my helm. Our time does call upon us.
I wish your horses swift and sure afoot, and so I do commend you to their backs. Farewell. Let every man be master of his time till 7 at night. To make society the sweeter welcome, we'll keep ourselves till supper time alone. While then may be with you. Our fears in Banquo stick deep. And in his helmety of nature rules that which would be feared. 'Tis much he dares, into that dauntless temper of his mind he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valor to act in safety. There is none but he, whose being I do fear, and under him my genius is rebuked. He chid the sisters when first they placed the name Helm upon me, and then bade them speak to him. Then seer-like they hailed him father to a line of helms. Upon me they placed a fruitless virtue, in my grip a barren title, whence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. If it be so, for Banquo's issue have I filed my mind. For them, the gracious Duncan, have I murdered, put rancors in the vessel of my peace for them, and mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man, to make them helms. The seeds of Banquo helms. Rather than so, come fate into the list, and champion me to the utterance. Who's there? Was it not yesterday we spoke together?
It was, so please your reverence.
Well then now, have you considered my speeches? Know that it was he in times past who put you so under fortune, which you thought had been our innocent self. This I made good to you, passed in probation with you, how you were born in hand, how crossed the instruments, who wrought them, in all things else to half a soul and a notion crazed, say thus did Banquo.
You made it known to us.
I did so, and that is the point of our second meeting. Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go? Are you so inclined to pray for this good man, whose heavy hand hath bowed you to the grave and beggared yours forever?
We're men, my helm.
Aye, and in the catalogue you go for men as hounds, greyhounds, mongrels, spaniels, curs, chauves, demi-wolves, all clept by the name of dogs. The valued file distinguishes the swift, the slow, the subtle, the housekeeper, the hunter, every one according to the gift which bounteous nature hath in him closed, whereby he does receive particular addition from the bill that writes them all alike. And so of men. Now, if you have a station in the file not in the worst rank of manhood, say it, and I will put that business in your bosoms whose execution does take your enemy off, grapples you to the heart and love of us who wear our health but sickly in his life, which in his death were perfect.
I am one, my helm, whom the vile blows and buffets of the world hath so incensed that I'm reckless what I do to spite the world.
I another so weary with disaster, tugged with fortune, that I would set my life on any chance to mend it or be rid on it.
Both of you know Banquo was your enemy.
True, my helm.
So he is mine. and in such bloody distance that every minute of his being thrusts against my nearest of life. And while I could with barefaced power sweep him from my sight and bid my will avouch it, yet I must not. For certain friends who are both his and mine, whose loves I may not drop, but wail his fall, who I myself struck down. And thus it is to your assistance that I do make love, masking the business from the common eye for sundry weighty reasons.
We shall, my helm, perform what you command us.
So our lives.
Spirits shine through you. Within the hour, I will advise you where to plant yourselves, acquaint you with the perfect spy of the time, the moment on it, for it must be done tonight. And something from the palace. Always remember that I require a clearness. And with him, to leave no rubs nor botches in the work, Fleance, his son, who keeps him company, who's no less material to me than is his father's, must embrace the same fate of that dark hour. Resolve yourselves apart. I'll come to you anon.
We are resolved, my helm.
I'll call upon you straight. Abide within. It is concluded. Banquo, thy soul's flight, if it find Odo, must find out tonight.
Is Banquo going from grounds?
I, my sayer, but returns again tonight.
Tell the helm I would attend his leisure for a few moments.
My sayer, I will.
Not sad. All spent when our desire is got, without content. 'Tis better to be that which we destroy than by destruction dwell in doubtful joy. How now, my helm? Why do you keep alone? Of sorriest fancies your companions making, using those thoughts which indeed should have died with them they think on. Things without all remedy should be without regard. What's done is done.
We have scorched the snake, not killed it. She'll close and be herself whilst our poor malice remains in danger of her former tooth. But let the frame of things disjoint, all worlds suffer ere we eat our meal in fear and sleep in the affliction of these terrible dreams that shake us nightly. Better be with the dead, whom we, to gain our peace, have sent to peace, than on the torture of the mind to lie in restless ecstasy. Duncan is in his grave. After life's fitful fever, he sleeps well. Treason has done his worst. Nor steel, nor poison, malice, domestic, helmish levy, nothing can touch him further.
My worthy helm, sleek over your rugged looks. Be bright and jovial for your guests tonight.
So shall I love, and so I pray be you. Let your remembrance apply to Banquo. Present him eminence both with eye and tongue. Unsafe the while that we must lave our honors in these flattering streams and make our faces visards to our hearts, disguising what they are.
You must leave this.
Full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife. Thou knowest that Banquo in his Fleance lives.
But in them, nature's copy is not a turn.
There's comfort yet. They are assailable. Then be thou jocund, ere the bat hath flown his cloistered flight, ere black nighttime summons the drowsy beetle with its night hums, hath rung night's yawning peal. There shall be done a deed of dreadful note.
What's to be done?
Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed. Come, sealing night, scarf up the tender eye of pitiful day, and with thy bloody and invisible hand cancel and tear to pieces that great bond which keeps me pale. Light thickens, and the crow makes wing to the rooky wood. Things of day begin to droop and drowse, while night's black agents to their praise do rouse. Thou marvelest at my words, but hold thee still. Things bad begun make strong themselves by ill. So prithee go with me.
Who did bid thee go with us?
Macbeth.
He needs not our mistrust, since he delivers our offices and what we have to do to the direction just.
Then stand with us. The west air glimmers with some streaks of day. Now spurs the lated traveler pace to gain the timely inn, and near approaches the subject of our watch.
Hark, I hear horses.
There is a light here. Ho!
Then 'tis he. The rest that are within the note of expectation already are at the grounds.
His horses go about.
Almost a mile, but he does, so all men do, from hence to the palace gate make it their walk.
A light! A light!
'Tis he.
Stand to it.
It will be rain tonight.
Let it come down.
Treachery! Flank plans! Flying down the extreme vein! Wretch!
Who did strike out the light?
Was not the way.
There's but one down. The sun is fled.
We have lost best half of our affair.
Well, let's away and say how much is done.
Thank you for journeying with us to the halfway point of the AU Reed Mechanical's production of Macbeth. We've now reached intermission, so I would invite you to take a break, stretch your legs, do whatever you have to do for these next 10 minutes till we are ready to resume the second half of our show. In the meanwhile, I will be giving a presentation on the history of Macbeth and the world building that our cast has done. So our cast and production team drew on several different aspects from the world building for this production. Firstly, we looked at the history of the historical Macbeth. We looked at the history that Shakespeare was writing in and his context, as well as some of the history of Scotland and the early history. And that is really where a lot of the inspiration for what you are seeing today came from. So I'll be getting into all of those aspects, as well as touching on what all of the words mean and how we've come up with a lot of the world building. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to talk about is some of the traditional Scottish social orders that were going on, particularly in Macbeth's time. So Macbeth lived actually 500 years before William Shakespeare. So Macbeth was as remote to Shakespeare when he was writing this play as Shakespeare is to us now. So a lot of it is reimagined, kind of reimagined within the gaze of an English person living 500 years later. So the historical Macbeth was actually not so much a murderer, well, he was, but very much in a way that was normal for ancient medieval Scotland, because Scotland operated under a system rather than primogeniture, which is what the English system exists under, in which like the property is passed from a man to his eldest son. Scotland existed as a tanistry, which meant that anyone on the paternal side of a king or a landholder could inherit that land. So basically this led to a lot of contention because whoever was deemed the most honorable or strongest person on the paternal side of a man's family would be his heir. So this led to a lot of fighting and violence, such as the likes of Macbeth, who were able to and willing to kill in order to gain power. So this was very common, and the life expectancy of kings in Macbeth's time was very short. Macbeth also would have lived in a time where Christianity was very prominent. It would have been a Celtic style of Christianity. So if you can think of like monks with tonsures, that is sort of an idea of Celtic Christianity as opposed to Roman Christianity, which later spread as much what we think of today as the Catholic Church. And we also had Celtic crosses and a few other rituals which were slightly different than what we might think of as modern-day Catholicism. Daily life in Macbeth's time, there were actually no castles. That is something that came later and that Shakespeare would have been thinking about when he was writing. Historical Macbeth would have actually ridden between different farmsteads that he would have owned, so lots of different farming villages. Basically, he and his men would have gone around, eaten all of the food in one village and then moved on to the next one. This is right as king. Common foods included wild boar, venison, ale, which would have diluted any dangerous bacteria in the water, and clothing. Kilts were not invented yet in Macbeth's time. Those came much later. Instead, they wore tunics that were often dyed yellow using, fun fact, horse urine. So that is a little bit of what daily life would have been like in Macbeth's time. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the context in which Shakespeare was writing. So when Shakespeare was writing Macbeth, it was in response to a new king coming to power in England. That was King James I. Now, King James was also the king of Scotland. England and Scotland were not one united country at the time, but they were like basically two different countries united under one king. This was the first time that this had happened. So both of King James's parents were killed in political context. His father was pretty brutally assassinated, and his mother was killed by Queen Elizabeth. King James was a Protestant, which is why he was chosen by Elizabeth to be the heir, and he brutally persecuted a lot of Catholics who were in England at the time. So he was very unpopular, as you can imagine, amongst that demographic. And he eventually became the target of a gunpowder plot, which happened just before Shakespeare wrote Macbeth, in which someone, Guy Fawkes, went underneath the Parliament building and was discovered at midnight with a lot of gunpowder he was about to ignite to blow up the Parliament building, killing the Parliament members as well as King James. So killing kings was something that was a very sensitive subject to the king at the time, which is why Shakespeare sort of wrote this show as a way of targeting and sort of defaming people who try to kill kings, while also trying to maybe have a little bit more of a nuanced conversation about it. But also the motivation for why Shakespeare wrote set Macbeth in Scotland to appease a Scottish king. King James was also very interested in the occult and witchcraft, which is where a lot of the magical elements of the story come from. He wrote a very famous book at the time of Shakespeare's writing about witches, which led to a real rise in popularity and superstition around witches in England. So that's where and why Shakespeare chose to incorporate that aspect. But our cast has chosen to set their show in an entirely different context. So they went back and looked at the Iron Age and some of the prehistory of Scotland and decided to reimagine Macbeth as if it were set then. So during this period of Scottish history, people were living in farming communities, somewhat pastoral, beginning to settle. The Iron Age, as is indicated by the name, was the beginning of iron tools being used. Common misconception is that the bronze, the stone, and the Iron Ages are very distinct in terms of the materials that they were using. In reality, there was a lot of blur, so they were still using bronze and stone during this time as well. And they were living in a warrior aristocracy. Our cast was also very much inspired by some of the religious traditions of the Iron Age. We really don't know that much about Celtic religious practices. So a lot of this is our imagination and also looking at some Anglo traditions. But what we do know about the Celts who were populating Scotland at this time was that their religious practices were very centered in nature. They were animists, which means that they believed that the world around them was a very spiritual place. They believed that there was spirits in the trees and in the earth and in any kind of natural features. Celebrations were very centered around seasonal changes. We don't know very much about them because there isn't any written record of them. Much of what we know about them is through the Romans who came in later and observed, but we only know through their perspective, and their perspective was not very much because they were mostly just meeting them in battles. There's some belief that there might have been human sacrifices used, usually as part of shamanic rituals to attain enlightenment, but we really don't know for sure about the day-to-day lives or beliefs of Gaelic rituals. So our cast is very much done a reimagining of what this world could have been like. So our cult is set in the realm of Haverfate, which is the word we have given to Christendom, the area that is called Christendom in the original text of Macbeth. Christendom is made up of several different factions, including the original Norway, Scotland, England, and Ireland. We have assigned new names and new meanings to these places. Our cult is set in a world where all of these factions are now competing with one another for resources. So there's a lot of infighting going on, which is the root of a lot of the violence and conflict, which is happening in our version of Macbeth. So the first faction that we're going to be talking about is Silvcroft. Each of the factions are referred to as helmdoms, and Silvcroft is the helmdom of agriculture. It is Scotland. Silvcroft comes from the word silv, which means forest, or has like an agrarian connotation as in the word Pennsylvania, and croft is an Anglo-Saxon suffix referring to a plot of land. Up next, we have Kilnhold, the helmdom of craftsmanship. This is what is referred to in the original text as England. Kilnhold, we came up with that from the word kiln, like in pottery, and hold, which is a word that means a fortified castle. England in this context is a helm dedicated to craftsmanship. Here I have a sword, as ironworking was beginning during this time. And next we have the helmdom of fishing, Castworth, which was Norway. And finally we have Grayshire, the helmdom of herding and animal husbandry, which is Ireland in the original text of Macbeth. Next, some important words for people to be aware of. First, we're going to talk about words denotating the social hierarchy. So the first really significant name changes that we have are helm and sair, which mean king and queen. The word helm we came up with because it refers to the helm of a ship, or sometimes the leader of a project or the leader of a group, which is similar to a king. And then sair, the word that we have chosen to mean queen. Sair has an agrarian connotation, refers to cycle in the growing of crops and the changing of an environment to a new vegetation. And it also refers to a Scottish word for servant. The next social hierarchy we have are sages and lilies, which means thanes and ladies. A thane is essentially a lord in what we might be more familiar with, but in Macbeth in Scotland they're referred to as thanes. In our show, however, we're calling them sages. Sage we liked because of the agrarian connotation, which we thought fit well with Silvcroft. And it also can mean an old wise man, protector, which is essentially what a lord might have been. Lily, we chose to be the new word for lady, in part because it has such a similar assonance to the word lady. And it also is a flower that is thought of as being very pure, representing purity, while at the same time being poisonous. So we thought that would be a good word to have associated with, especially Lady Macbeth. And finally, kinsman has the word we have replaced servants with. We've done this because in a cult, maybe there aren't necessarily servants because people all are usually thought of as equals within a cult, even if that's not really the reality. So we refer to like the general members of the cults who are doing maybe a lot of the servant roles as kinsmen because they're all members of the family. And finally, we're going to be talking about religion in our version of Macbeth. So the word May is derived from a druid god called Amathan, who was the god of agriculture, which we thought had particular resonance in Silvcroft, which is an agricultural society. Arwen is the word we have replaced with devil, which was a druid king of the underworld. Odil means heaven. That is a combination of two words, one being otherworld, which is a space between heaven and hell in Celtic tradition, and idle, which is the ideal place that you might want to come to. Woe is hell, because woe means sorrowful. We've replaced angel with spirit to kind of connect with the animist aspects of Celtic mythology. And finally, Nodens is how we replaced Neptune. Nodens was a Celtic god of the sea and healing. And with that, we are at the end of our presentation. I hope you enjoyed it and had a restful intermission. And now, on with the show.
You know your own degrees. Sit down. At first and last, the hearty welcome.
Thanks to your verity.
Our self will mingle with society and play the humble host. Our hostess keeps her state, but in best time we would require her welcome.
Pronounce it for me, my helm, for my heart speaks their welcome.
See, they encounter thee with their hearts' thanks. Both sides are even, here I'll sit in the midst. Be large in mirth, anon we'll drink a measure round. There's blood on thy face.
Is Banquo's then?
'Tis better thee without than he within. Is he dispatched?
My helm, his throat is cut. That I did for him.
Thou art the best of the cutthroats. Yet he's good that did the like for Fleance. If thou didst it, thou art the non-perel.
Most worthy helm, Fleance escaped.
Then comes my fit again. I had else been perfect, as whole as the rock, as founded as the marble, as broad encasing as the general air. But now I am cabined, confined, cribbed, bound to saucy doubts and fears. But Banquo safe.
Aye, my good helm, safe in a ditch he bides with 20 trenchant gashes on his head, the least a death to nature.
Thanks for that. There the grown serpent lies. The worm that's fled hath nature that in time will venom breed. No teeth for the present. Get thee gone. We'll hear ourselves again tomorrow.
My worthy helm, you do not give the cheer. The feast is sold that is not often vouched, while 'tis a making 'tis given with welcome. To feed were best at home, where to the sauce to meet is ceremony. Meeting were bare without it.
Sweet remembrance, sir. Now, digestion wait on appetite and health on both.
It please your reverence, sit.
Here had our helmdom's honor roofed were the graced person of our Banquo present, whom I should pity for mischance rather than pity for misfortune.
Absence helm lays blame upon his promise. Please it your reverence grace us with your helmish company?
The table's full.
Here's a place well reserved, my helm.
Where?
Here, my good helm. What is it that moves your reverence?
Which of you have done this?
What do you mean, my helm?
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me.
Gentlemen, rise. His reverence is not well.
Sit, worthy friends. My helm is often thus, and hath been from his youth. I pray you, keep seat. Upon a thought, he will again be well. If much you regard him, you will offend him, and extend his passion. Feed, and regard him not. Are you a man?
Aye, and a bold one, which dare look upon that which might appall the Iran. Lo, how say you? Why, what care I? If thou canst not, speak too! If eternal houses in our graves bring back those that we bury, our monuments shall be the maws of kites!
This is the very painting of your fear. All these flaws and starts, impostors to true fear, are better suited for a woman's tale at a winter's fire, authorized by her grandam, she itself. Why do you make such faces? When all said and done, you look but on a stool, quite unmanned and folly.
If I stand here, I saw him.
Fie, for shame.
Blood hath been shed, ere now, in the olden time, ere humane statute purged the gentle wheel. Aye, and since too, murders have been performed too terrible for the ear. The time has been that when the man would die, the brains were out, and there an end, but now they rise again with 20 mortal murders on their hands, and they push us from our stools. This is more strange than such a murder is.
Worthy helm, your sagely friends do lack you.
I do forget. My worthy friends, do not muse at me. I have a strange infirmity, which is nothing to those that know me. Come, love and health to all. Then I'll sit down. Give me some wine. Feel full. I drink to the general joy of the whole table, and to our dear friend Banquo, whom we miss. Would he were here! To him and to all we thirst, and all to all.
To our duties and the pledge.
Avaunt and quit my sight! Let the earth hide thee! Thy bones are marrowless, thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in the eyes which thou dost glare with.
Think of this, good peers, but as a thing of common nightly routine. 'Tis no other. Only it ruins the pleasure of the time.
What man dare? I dare! Approach thou like the rugged giant bear, the armed rhinoceros, and the nimble tiger. Take any shape but that, and my firm nerves shall never tremble. Or be alive again, and dare me to the desert with thy sword. And trembling I inhabit then, protest me the baby of a girl. Hence, horrible shadow! Unreal mockery, hence! Why so? Being gone, I am a man again.
You have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorder.
Can such things be that overcome us like a summer's cloud without our special wonder? You make me strange to the disposition I owe to think that you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks when mine is blanched with fear.
What sights, my helm?
Pray, speak not. He grows worse and worse. Questions enrage him. At once, good night. Stand not upon the order you're going, but go at once.
Good night, and better health attend his verity.
A kind good night to all.
What they say? Blood will have blood. Stones have been known to move, and trees to speak. Augurs and understood relations have, by maggot pies and troughs and rooks, brought forth the secretest man of blood. What is the night?
Almost at odds with morning. Which is which?
How seest thou that Macduff denies his great person at our bidding?
Did you send to him, sir?
I hear it by the way. But I will send. There's not one of them but in his house I keep a kinsman fed. I will tomorrow, and betimes I will to the weird sisters. More shall they speak, for I am bent to know by worst means worse. I am so far in blood that, should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as the going. Strange things I have in head, that will to hand, that must be acted ere they may be scanned. Come, we'll to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that wants hard use.
You lack the season of all natures.
We are yet but young, indeed.
My former speeches have but hit your thoughts, which can interpret farther. Only, I say, things have been strangely born. The gracious Duncan was pitied of Macbeth. Mary, he was dead. And the right valiant Banquo walked too late, whom you may say, if it pleases you, Fleance killed, for Fleance fled. Men must not walk too late. Who cannot want the thought of how monstrous it was for Malcolm and for Donalbain to kill their gracious father? Damned facts! How it did grieve Macbeth. Did he not straight and impious rage the two delinquents tear that were the ones of drink and thralls of sleep? Was that not nobly done? Aye, and wisely too, for it would have angered any heart alive to hear the men deny it. And so, I say, he has borne all things well. And I do think that had he Duncan's sons under his key, and please Odell, he should not, they would find what were to kill a father, and so should Fleance. But peace, for from broad words, and because he failed his presence at the tyrant's feast, I hear Macduff lives in disgrace. Sage, can you tell me where he bestows himself?
The son of Duncan, from whom this tyrant holds the due of birth, lives on the Kilnish grounds and is received by the most pious Edward with such grace that the malevolence of fortune nothing takes from his high respect. Thither Macduff is gone to pray the hollowed helm upon his aid to wake reinforcement and warlike Seward, that by the help of these we may again bring sleep to our nights, meat to our tables, free from our feasts and banquets bloody knives, do faithful homage, and receive free honors, all which we pine for now. And this report hath so exasperate the helm that he prepares for some attempt of war.
Send him to Macduff?
He did, and with an absolute "Sir, not I," the cloudy messenger turned me his back and hummed, so as to say, "You'll rue the time that clogs me with this answer."
And that very well might. Advise him to a caution to hold what his wisdom can prevail. Some hallowed spirit fly through the grounds of Kilnhold and unfold his message ere he come. That a swift blessing return to this our suffering helmdom under a hand accursed.
I'll send my prayers with him.
Thrice the brided cat hath meowed.
Thrice, and once the hedge pig whined.
Harp your cries, 'tis time, 'tis time.
Round about the cauldron go, in the poison entrails throw. Toad that under cold stone days and nights has 31. Sweltered venom, sleeping got, boil thou first I the charmed pot.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and a cauldron bubble.
Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindworm's sting, lizard's leg and owlet's wing. For a charm of powerful trouble, like a woe broth, boil and bubble.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and a cauldron bubble.
Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maw and gulf, of the ravened salt sea shark, root of hemlock digged in the dark, ditch delivered by a drab, make the gruel thick and slab. Add thereto a tiger's chaudron, for the ingredients of our cauldron.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and a cauldron bubble.
Cool it with a baboon's blood, and the charm is firm and good. By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. Open locks, whoever knocks.
How now, you secret, black, and midnight hags? What is it you do?
A deed without a name.
I conjure you, by that which you profess, however you come to know it, answer me. Though you untie the winds and let them fight against the churches, though yeasty waves confound and swallow navigation up, though bladed corn be lodged and trees blown down, though castles topple to their warders' heads, though palaces and pyramids do slope their heads to their foundations, though the treasure of nature's germ tumble all together, even till destruction sicken, answer me to what I ask you.
Speak.
Command.
He'll answer.
Say if thou'st rather hear it from our mouths, or from our masters.
Call him. Let me see him.
Pour in so blood that hath eaten her 9 Pharaoh. Grease that sweetened from the murderer's gibbet throw. Into the flame.
Come high or low, thyself and office deftly show.
Macbeth, 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 beware, Macduff, beware the sage of kin. Dismiss me. Enough.
Whatever thou art, for thy good caution thanks, thou hast harped my fear right, but one thing more.
He will not be commanded. Here's another, more potent than the first.
Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth.
Had I 3 years, I'd hear thee.
Be bloody, bold, and resolute. Laugh to scorn the power of man, for none of woman born shall.
Then live, Macduff. What need I fear of thee? Yet I'll make assurance double sure and take a bond of fate. Thou shalt not live, that I may tell pale-hearted fear it lies, and sleep in the spite of thunder. What is this that rises like the issue of a helm, and wears upon his baby brow the round and top of verity?
Listen, but speak not to it.
Be lion mettled, proud, and take no care who chafes, who frets, or where conspirers are. Macbeth shall never vanquished be, until great Druid wood, to high Danbury Hill, shall come against him.
That will never be. Who can impress the forest? Bid the tree unfix his earthbound root. Sweet bodements good. Rebellious dead, rise never till the wood of Druid rise. And our high-placed Macbeth shall live a lease of nature, and pay his breath to time and mortal custom. But my heart throbs to know one thing more. Tell me, if thou art can tell so much, shall Banquo's issue ever lead in this helmdom?
Seek to know no more.
I will be satisfied. Deny me this, and an eternal curse fall on you. Let me know! What is this noise?
Show.
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 Show his eyes and grieve his heart. Come like shadows, so depart.
You, like the spirit of Banquo! Down! Ah! Thy face to sear mine eyeballs! Ah! Filthy hags! Why do you show me this? I'll see no more. Horrible sight. Now I see 'tis true, for the blood-boltered Banquo smiles upon me, and points at them for his. What, is this so?
Aye, Helm, all this is so. But why stands Macbeth thus amazedly? Come, sisters, cheer we up his sprites, and show the best of our delights. I'll charm the air to give a sound, while you perform your antic round. That this great helm may kindly say, our duties did his welcome pay.
Where are they? Gone! Let this pernicious hour stand accursed in the calendar! Come in, without there!
What is your grace's will?
The weird sisters.
No, my helm.
Came they not by you?
No, indeed, my helm.
Infected be the air upon where they ride, and damned be all those that trust them. I did hear the galloping of horses. Who was it that thus came by?
'Tis 2 or 3, my helm, to tell you that Macduff has fled to Kilnhold.
Fled to Kilnhold?
Hi, my good helm.
Time, thou anticipatest my dread exploits. The flighty purpose is ne'er o'ertook, unless the deed go with it. From this moment on, the very firstlings of my heart shall be the firstlings of my hand. Even so, to seal thought with axe, be it thought and done. The castle of Macduff I will surprise, seize upon kin, give to the edge of the sword his wife, his babes, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in his line. But no more boasting like a fool. This deed I'll do before my purpose cool. But no more sights! Where are these gentlemen? Come bring me where they are!
What had he done to make him fly the land?
You must have patience, Lily.
He had none. His flight was madness. When our actions do not, our fears do make us traitors.
You know not whether it was his wisdom or his fear.
Wisdom. To leave his wife, to leave his babes, his titles, and his mansion in the place from whence himself does fly. He loves us not. He wants the natural touch. For the poor wren, the most diminutive of birds, will fight her young ones in her nest against the owl. All is the fear, and nothing is the love. So little is the wisdom where flight so runs against all reason.
My gentle cousin, I pray you school yourself. But for your husband, he is noble, wise, judicious, and best knows the fits of the season. I'll not say much further. But cruel are the times when we are traitors and do not know ourselves, when we hold rumor from what we fear, but know not what we fear, but float on a wild and violent sea each way and move. I take my leave of you. Shall not be long, I'll be here again. What's at the worst must cease, or else climb upward. My pretty cousin, blessing upon you.
Fathered he is, and yet he's fatherless.
So much the fool were I to remain longer. It would be to my disgrace and your discomfort. My pretty cousin, blessing upon you.
Child, your father's dead, and what will you do now? How will you live?
As birds do, Mother.
What, with worms and flies?
With what I get, I mean, and so do they.
Poor bird. Thou'st never fear the net nor the line, the pitfall nor the gin.
Why should I, Mother? Poor birds, they are not set for. My father is not dead for all you're saying.
Yes, he is dead, and how wilt thou do for a father?
Nay, how will you do for a husband?
Why, I can buy me 20 at any market.
Then you'll buy him to sell again.
Thou speakest with all thy wit, and yet, if faith with wit enough for thee.
Was my father a traitor, Mother?
Aye, that he was.
What is a traitor?
Why, one that swears and lies.
And be all traitors that do so?
Everyone that does so is a traitor and must be hanged.
And must they all be hanged that swear and lie?
Everyone.
Who must hang them?
Why, the honest men.
Well, then the liars and swearers are fools, for there be liars and swearers enough to beat the honest men and hang them.
May help thee, poor monkey. How wilt thou do for a father?
If thou would weep for him, my father were dead. If thou would not, it should quickly mean that I should soon have a new father.
Poor prattler, how thou talkest!
Bless you, fair Lily. I'm not to you known, though in your state of honor I am perfect. I doubt some danger does approach you nearly. If you will take a homely man's advice, be not found here. Hence, with your little ones! To fright you thus, methinks I am too savage. To do worse, to you were felt cruelty, which is too nigh your person. Odil preserve you. I dare abide no longer.
Whither should I fly? I have done no harm. But now I am remembered I live in this earthly world where to do harm is often laudable and to do good accounted a dangerous folly. Why then, alas, do I put up that womanly defense to say I have done no harm? What are these faces?
Where is your husband?
I hope in no place so unsanctified where such as thou mayst find him.
He's a traitor.
Thou liest, thou shag-eared villain!
But you egg! Young fry of treachery!
Child!
He has killed me, mother. Run away, I pray you.
Murder! 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 Murder!
Let us seek out some desolate shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty.
Let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men bestride our downfall and birthdom. Each day, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike Odil on the face, that it resounds, as if it felt with Silfcroft, and yell out like syllable of dolor.
What I believe, I'll wail. What no, believe, and what I can redress, as I shall find the time to friend, I will. What you have spoken may be so, perchance. This tyrant whose sole name blisters our tongues was once thought honest. You have loved him well. He hath not touched you yet. I am young, but something you may deserve of him, through me and wisdom, to offer up a poor, weak, innocent lamb to appease an angry helm.
I'm not treacherous.
But Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an overbearing charge. But I shall crave your pardon. That which you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. Spirits are bright still, though the brightest fell. Though all things fall would wear the brows of grace, yet grace still must look so.
I've lost my hopes.
Perchance even there where I did find my doubts. Why in that rawness left you wife and child? Those precious motives, those strong knots of love without leave-taking. I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonors, but mine own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever I shall think.
Silfcroft. Bleed, bleed, poor Helmdom, and tyranny, lay thou thy bases sure, for goodness dare not check thee. Were thou thy wrongs, the title is afeared. Farewell. I would not be the villain that thou think'st for the entire space within that tyrant's grasp, and the 4 Helmdoms to boot.
Be not offended. I speak not in absolute fear of you. I think our Helmdom sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each day a new gash is added to her wounds. I think withal there would be hands uplifted in my right, and here from gracious Kilnhold have I offer of goodly thousands. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head, or wear it upon my sword, yet my poor Helmdom shall have more vice, more sundry suffer ways than it had before, by him that shall succeed.
What should he be?
It is myself, I mean. I know all the particulars of vice so grafted that, when they shall be opened, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow, and the poor state esteem him as a lamb, being compared with my confineless harms.
Not in the legions of horrid woe can come an Auron more damned in evils to top Macbeth.
I grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every fault that has a name, but there's no bottom, none, in my voluptuousness. Better Macbeth on such a one to lead.
Boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It's been the untimely emptying of the happy seat and fall of many helms.
With this there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice that, were I helm, I should cut off the sages for their lands, desire his jewels and this other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more, that I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth.
This avarice sticks deeper, and grows with more pernicious root than at summer seeming lust. It hath been the sword of our slain helms. Yet do not fear. Silfcroft hath foistons enough to fill up your will of your mere own. All of these are portable, with other graces weight.
But I have none. The helm becoming graces as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them, but abound in the division of each several crime, acting it many ways. Nay, had I power, I would pour the sweet milk of concord into woe, abhor the universal peace, confound all unity on earth.
Silfcroft.
If such a one be fit to serve, speak, I am as I have spoken.
Fit to serve? No, not to live. Oh, I'm the miserable, with an untitled tyrant, bloody sceptred, when shalt thou live to see thy wholesome days again, since the truest issue of thy seat by his own interdiction stands accursed, and does disgrace his own breed? Thy father was a most hallowed helm, the sire that bore thee, often upon her knees and on her feet, died every day she lived, and ye... Fare thee well. The evils that thou repeat'st upon thyself hath banished me from Silfcroft. On my breast, thy hope ends here.
Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. I am yet unknown to woman, never was forsworn, scarcely have coveted what was mine own, at no time broke my faith, would not betray the R unto his fellow, and delight no less in truth than life. My first false speaking was this upon myself. What I am truly is thine and my poor helmdoms to command. Whither indeed, before thy here approach, old Seward with 10,000 warlike men, already at a point was setting forth. Now we'll together, and the chance of goodness be like our warranted quarrel. Why are you silent?
Such welcome and unwelcome things at once, 'tis hard to reconcile.
Well, more anon.
See who comes here.
Once my kinsman, but yet I know him not.
My ever gentle cousin, welcome hither.
I know him now. Good may betimes remove that means that make us strangers.
Good day.
Stand Silfcroft where it did.
Alas, poor Helmdom, almost afraid to know itself. It cannot be called our mother, but our grave, where nothing but who knows nothing has once seemed to smile, where sighs and groans and shrieks that rent the air are made, not marked, and violent sorrow seems a modern ecstasy. The dead man's knell is scarce asked for who, and men expire before the flowers in their caps, dying or ere they sicken.
A relation too nice yet too true.
What's the newest grief?
When I came hither to transport the tidings which I have heavily borne, there ran a rumor that many worthy fellows were out, which I believed witnessed the rather for that I had seen the tyrant's power afoot. Now is the time of help. Your eye in Silfcroft would create soldiers, make our women fight to doff their dire distresses.
Be it the comfort we are coming thither. Gracious Kilnhold hath lent us good Seward and 10,000 men, an older and better soldier none that have her fate gives out.
Would I could answer this comfort with the like. What I have would be howled out in the desert air, where hearing could not latch it.
If it be mine, keep it not from me. Quickly, let me have it.
Let not your ears despise my tongue forevermore, which shall possess it with the heaviest sound that ever yet they heard.
I guess at it.
Your castle is surprised. Your wife and page savagely slaughtered. To relate the manner of the quarry of those murdered deer, to add the death of you.
Merciful Odil, what manner pull up your hat upon your brows? Give sorrow words, the grief that does not speak, whispers the orphan heart and bids it break.
My children, too.
Children, wife, kinsmen, all that could be found.
And I must be from thence. My wife killed too.
I have said.
Be comforted. Let's make us medicines of our great revenge to cure this deadly grief.
He has no children! All of my pretty ones! Did you say all? Okay, all! What? All my pretty chickens in the den! What the?
Dispute it like a man!
I shall do so! But I must also feel it as a man. I could not but remember such things that were precious to me. Little Dill look on. It would not take their part! Guilty McTubb. They were all struck for thee. Not that I am, not for their undermerits, but for mine, to slaughter in their souls. Dill, rest them now.
Be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger. Blunt not the heart, enrage it.
I could play the woman with mine eyes and the braggart with my tongue. But gentle darkness cut short all intermission. Front to front, bring thou this fiend of Silfcroft and myself, and in my sword's length set him. If he should scape, Odell forgive him too.
This tune goes manly. Come, go we to the helm. Our power is ready. Our lack is nothing but our leave. Macbeth is ripe for shaking. And the powers above put on their instruments. Receive what cheer you may. The night is young that ne'er finds the day.
I have watched with you for 2 nights and can perceive no truth in your report. When was it she last walked?
Since his married into the field, I have seen her rise from her bed, throw her nightgown upon her, take forth paper, fold it.
A great perturbation in nature, to receive at once the benefits of sleep and do the effects of watching. In this slumbery agitation, besides her walking and any other actual performances, what, if anything, have you heard her say?
That, sir, which I will not report after her.
You may to me, and 'tis most you should.
This to confirm my. Lo, she comes. This is her very guise, and upon my life fast asleep. Observe her, stand close.
How came she by that light?
Why, it stood by her continually, 'tis her command.
You see her eyes are open. What is it she does now? Look how she rubs her hands.
Yet.
Kind action to seem thus washing her hands. I have known her to continue this for a quarter of an hour.
Yet. Here's a spot.
Hark, she speaks. I will set down comes from her to satisfy my remembrance the more strongly.
Out, damn spot! Out, I say! One. Two. Why then, 'tis time to do it. Woe is murky. Fine, my sage, fine. A soldier and a feared. What need we fear, and who knows it, when none can call our power to account? Yet who would have thought the old man to have so much blood in him?
Do you mark that?
The Sage of Kin had a wife. Where is she now? What will his hands never be clean? No more of that, my Sage. No more of that. You mar all of this with starting.
Go to. You have known what you should not.
She spoke what she should not, I'm sure of that. Odal knows what she has known.
Here's the smell of blood still. All the perfumes of wisteria couldn't sweeten this little hand.
What a sigh is there? The heart is sorely charged.
I would not have such a heart in my bosom for the dignity of the whole body.
Well.
Pray may it be, sir.
This disease is beyond my practice. Yet I have known those who have walked in their sleep, who have died hallowedly in their beds.
Wash your hands. Put on your nightgown. Look not so pale. I tell you again, Banquo is buried. He cannot come out on his grave.
Even so,
To bed. To bed. There's a knocking at the gate. Come. 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 Give me your hand. What's done cannot be undone. To bed. To bed. To bed. To bed.
will she go now to bed?
Directly.
Foul whisperings are abroad. Unnatural deeds do breed unnatural troubles. Infected minds their death pillows will discharge their secrets. More needs she the divine than the physician. May forgive us all. Look after her. Remove her from the means of all annoyance and set still eyes upon her. So good night. My mind, she is mated and amazed my sight. I think but dare not speak.
Good healer. The Kilnish power is near, led on by Malcolm, his uncle Stewart, and the good Macduff. Revenge is burning them for their dear causes. Wood to the bleeding and the grim alarm excite the mortified man.
Near Druid Wood shall we well meet them. That way are they coming.
Who knows if Donalbain be with his brother?
Certain, sir, he's not. I have a file of all the soldiers. There is Seward's son and many on rough youths that even now protest their first of manhood.
What does the tyrant?
Great Denebran he strongly fortifies. Some say he's mad, others that lesser hate him do call it valiant fury, but for certain he cannot buckle his distempered cause within the belts of rule.
Feel his secret murders sticking on his hands. Now, minutely revolts, upbraid his faith breach. Those he commands move only in command, nothing in love. Now does he feel his title hang loose about him, like a giant's robe upon a dwarvish thief.
Who then shall blame his pestered senses to recoil and start, when all that is within him does condemn itself for being there?
Well, march we on to give obedience where 'tis truly owed. Meet we the medicine of the sickly wheel with him, pour in our helmdom's purge, each drop of us!
Or so much as it needs to do the sovereign flower and drown the weeds. Make we our march towards Druid.
Bring me no more reports. Let them fly all. To the wood of Druin to remove to Danabray I cannot taint with fear. What's the boy, Malcolm? Was he not born of woman? The spirits that know all mortal consequences have pronounced me thus. Fear not, Macbeth. No man e'er born of woman shall e'er have power upon thee. Then fly, false sages, and mingle with the Kilnish epicures. The mind I sway by and the heart I bear shall never sag with doubt, nor shake with fear. The Iran damn thee black, thou cream-faced loon! Why gottest thou that goose look?
There are 10,000.
Geese, villain?
Soldiers, helm.
Go prick thy face and red thy fear, thou lily-livered boy. What soldiers, Patch? Death of thy soul? Those linen cheeks of thine are counselors to fear! What soldiers, Wayface?
The Kelnish force, so please you.
Take thy face hence. Satan! I am sick at heart when I behold Satan, I say! This push will cheer me ere or deceit me now. I've lived long enough. My way of life has fallen into the sear, the yellow leaf, and that which should accompany old age as love, honor, obedience, troops of friends I must not look to have, but in their stead, curses, not loud, but deep mouth honor, breath, which the poor heart fain deny and dare not. Satan, I say!
What's your gracious pleasure?
What news more?
All is confirmed, my helm, which has been reported.
I'll fight till from my bones my flesh be hacked. Give me mine armor.
'Tis not needed yet.
I'll put it on! Send out more horses. Skir the helmdom round. Hang those that talk of fear. Give me mine armor! Healer, how does your patient?
Not so sick, my helm, as she is troubled with thick-coming fancies that keep her from her rest.
Cure her of that. Canst thou not minister to a mind diseased? Pluck from the memory a rooted sorrow? Raise out the written trouble of the brain, and with some sweet oblivious antidote, cleanse from the stuffed bosom the perilous stuff that weighs upon the heart.
Therein the patient must minister to himself.
Throw physic to the dogs, I'll none of it. I need my staff. Satan, send out. Healer, these sages fly from me. Come, sir, dispatch! If thou canst, good healer, cast from the water of my land, find her disease, and purge it with a sound and pristine health, I would applaud thee to the very echo that should applaud again. Pull it off! What rhubarb senna, or what purgative drug would scour these Kilnish hence? Hearest thou of them?
Aye, my good Elm, your worthy preparation makes us hear something.
Bring it after me! I will not be afraid of death and bane till the wood of Druint remove to Danabray.
Were I from Danabray away and clear, profit again should hardly draw me here.
Cousins, I hope the days are near at hand that Chambers will be safe.
We doubt it nothing.
What is this before us?
The wood of Druint.
Let every soldier hew him down a bough and bear it before him. Thereby shall we shadow the numbers of our host and make discovery ere and report of us.
It shall be done.
No other but the confident tyrant keeps still in Danabray and will endure our settling down before it.
'Tis his main hope. For where there is advantage to be given, both more and less have given him the revolt, and none serveth him but constrained things whose hearts are absent too.
Let our just censures attend the true event, and put we on industrious soldiership.
The time approaches that will with due decision make us know what we shall say we have and what we owe. Thoughts speculative and their unsure hopes relate. Yet certain issues strokes must arbitrate, towards which advance the war!
Yeah!
Hang out our banners on the outward walls! The cry is still, they come! Our castle strength will laugh a siege to scorn. Here let them lie till famine and the ague eat them up. Were they not so forced with those that should have been ours, we might have met them dareful, beard to beard, and beat them backward home. Hearest that? What is that noise?
It is the cry of women, my good Helm.
I have almost forgot the taste of fears. The time has been that my senses would have cooled to hear a night shriek, or my fell of hair would at dismal treatise rouse and stir as life were in it. I have supped full of horrors. Direness, familiar to my slaughterous thoughts, cannot once start me. Wherefore was that cry?
The Sire, my Helm, is dead.
She should have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a word. Tomorrow. And tomorrow. And tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out. Out! Brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. A poor player who struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Thou camest to use thy tongue, thy story quickly?
Gracious, my helm, I should report that which I say I saw, but know not how to do it.
Well, say, sir.
As I did stand my watch upon the hill, I looked toward Druint, and anon methought the wood began to move.
Liar and wretch! If thou speakest false, upon the next tree shalt thou hang alive till famine cling thee! If thou speech be sooth, I care not if thou dost for me as much. I again to pull and resolution and doubt these fiends that lie like truth. Arm and out! If that which he avouches does appear, there'll be no tearing hence nor flying there. I get to be weary of the sun, and wish the estate of the world were now undone. Ring the alarm bell! Below wind, come, rack. At least we'll die with harness on our back.
Now near enough. Your leafy screens throw down and show like those you are. You worthy uncle shall, with my cousin, your noble son, lead our first battle. Worthy Macduff and we shall take upon what else remains to do, according to our order.
Fare ye well. Do we but find the tyrant's power tonight, let us be beaten if we cannot fight.
Make all our trumpets speak! Give them all breath! Those clamorous harbingers of blood and death! Charge! that way the noises. Tyrant! Show thy face! If thou beest slain by no stroke of mine, my wife and children's ghosts will haunt me still. I cannot strike at wretched kerns, whose arms are hired to bear their staves. Either thou, Macbeth, or my sword, with unbattered edge I sheath again, undated. There thou shouldst be. By this great clatter comes one note of greater brooded. Let me find him, fortune, and more I beg not.
This way, my heir. The castle's gently rendered. The tyrant's people on both sides do fight. The noble sages do bravely in the war. The day itself almost professes itself yours, and little is to do.
We have met with foes that strike beside us.
Enter, heir. The castle.
Why should I play the bested fool and die on mine own sword? Whilst I see lives, the gasters do better upon them.
Turn, Mohounds, turn!
Of all men else, I have avoided thee. But get thee back. My sword is too much charged with blood of thine already.
I have no words. My voice is in my sword. Thou bloodier villain, the Terps can give thee out!
Thou losest labor! As easy mayest the entrenchant air thy keen sword impress, as make me bleed. Let fall thy sword on vulnerable crests! I bear a charmed life, which must not yield to one of woman born!
To spare thy charm, and let the spirit whom thou still serve tell thee that Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely raped.
Curse it! Be the tongue that tells me so! For it hath gouged my better part of man. And be these struggling fiends no more believed that palter with us in a double sense, and keep the promise to our ear, and break it to our hope. I'll not fight with thee.
Then yield thee, coward, and live to be the show and gaze of the time. We'll have thee, as our rarer monsters are, painted upon a pole and underwrit. Here may you see the tyrants.
I will not yield to kiss the ground before young Malcolm's feet, or be baited with the rabble's curse. For the wood of Druid come to Danbury, and thou opposest, being of no woman born. And I will try the last. Before my body I throw my warlike shield. Lay on, Macduff, and damn be him who first cries, halt! Enough! Ah!
Would the friends we missed were safe arrived.
Some must go off, and yet by this I see such a day as this is cheaply bought.
Macduff is missing, and your noble son.
Your son, my shield, hath paid a soldier's debt. He only lived but till he was a man. The no which sooner had his prowess confirmed the unshrinking station which he fought, but like a man he died.
Then he is dead?
Aye, and brought off the field. Let not your cause of sorrow be measured by his worth, for then it hath no end.
Had he his hurts before?
Aye, on the front.
Why then? May's soldier be he. Had I as many sons as I have hairs, I would not have wished to them a fairer death. And so, his knell is knolled.
He's worth more sorrow, and that I'll spend for him.
He's worth no more, and no more shall I spend for him. May be with him. Here comes newer comfort.
Hail, Helm! For so thou art. Behold where stands the usurper's cursed head. The time is free. I see thee encompassed with thy helmdom's pearl. And speak my salutations in their minds, whose voices I desire aloud with mine. Hail, helm of Silfcroft.
Hail,
Helm of
Silfcroft.
We shall not spend a large expense of time before we reckon with your several loves and make us even with you. My sages and kinsmen, henceforth be shields, the first ever that Silfcroft in such an honor named. What's more to do, which would be planted newly with the time, as calling home our exiled friends abroad that fled the snares of watchful tyranny, producing forth the cruel ministers of this dead butcher and his fiend-like sayer, who, as 'tis thought, by self and violent hands took off her life. This and what needful else that calls upon us by grace of grace, we will perform in measure, time, and place. So thanks to all and to each one, whom we invite to see us named at Oak.
When shall we three meet again?
In thunder.
In lightning.
Or in rain.
Hello, everybody. Hi. Welcome to the Talkback for Macbeth. My name is Deanna, and I am the stage manager of this production. We hope that you enjoyed the show. And if you have any questions for our casting crew, this would be the time to put them into the Q&A, and we will get to them in just a little bit. You can also put any congratulatory comments that you want in there, but we will not be reading them out loud for courtesy of timing. So before we get started on the Q&A, I just want to say bravo, cast. That was amazing. Congratulations on your closing night. I hope you guys are all proud of yourself, as you should be. So yeah, we'll get started. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves like we did last night. So I'll just pick on you guys again as I see you guys on my screen. So first we'll go to Thea.
Hi, I'm Althea. I played Lady Macbeth, or Lily Macbeth.
Sophic.
Hi, I'm Sophic. I played Duncan, Satan, and the third apparition.
Evan Jenke.
Hi, I'm Evan Jenke. I played Macduff.
Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate. I played the porter, Lily Macduff, and a sage.
Joe.
Hey, I'm Joe. I played Old Man, the Sun, and Angus.
Cassidy.
Hi, my name is Cassidy. I played Lennox, Seward, and a kinsman briefly for one of the last few scenes.
Oh, my internet is unstable. That's okay. Emma and Haley.
I'm Emma. I played Malcolm.
I'm Haley, and I'm the troop executive director.
Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia, and I played Macbeth.
Sylvia.
Hello, I'm Sylvia. I played the second witch, and the second witch also played several characters, including a murderer, the messenger, and a soldier, but I only had to play the second witch.
Anna.
Hello, I'm Anna. I played the captain, Fleon's best boy, and Kate the Sage of Recognition.
Kaveh.
I am Kaveh. I played Donald Bain, heir of Silvercroft, the healer, and a kinsman.
Henry.
Hello, my name is Henry, and I played Banquo and a soldier in the second apparition.
James.
Hello, I'm James, and I played the third witch, who deep undercover as Ross, Sage of Humility, and also the third murderer.
Valeria.
Hello, I'm Valeria. I played the first witch, who also played a murderer, a messenger, and a soldier.
Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura, and I'm one of the co-costumes and makeup people.
Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace, and I am also a co-costume and makeup person.
Rashmi.
Hi, I'm Rashmi, and I was assistant stage manager.
Evan Steinberg.
Hello, I apologize my camera isn't on right now. It is currently broken, but my name is Evan Steinberg, and I am the technical director.
Katie.
Hi, my name is Katie Hoskins. I was the dramaturg for the show, and I did the intermission presentation.
Daniela.
Hi, I'm Daniela, and I'm the organizing director for the Troop as a whole.
Maya.
Hi, I'm Maya, and I was the director of Macbeth, and I'm the Troop Public Relations Director.
Sorry about that. Sienna.
Hi, I'm Sienna. I'm the assistant director and associate PR director.
And Josie. Okay, maybe not. Sorry, she was having some Wi-Fi issues. Okay, great. So now we'll get started on some questions. So our first question right off the bat is asking about the world that we created this production of Macbeth in and how we developed the ideas for this. So I'm going to send that question over to our amazing directors, Maya and Sienna, to answer.
Okay, so the Rude Mechanicals, Deanna, can you pause yourself? Okay. So the Rude Mechanicals always does classical works within modern or reimagined context. So when I was proposing Macbeth, I knew that I wanted to pick something that had a definitive hierarchical power structure, but didn't necessarily have a specific time or place. And I was watching a lot of cult things with my mom, hanging out, and I was like, oh, what if it was an occult? And I really enjoy working with the Roots too because we let a lot of our cast and crew members all develop works together. I really like doing devise work. So I brought kind of preliminary ideas about the cult and the cult structure to the cast and crew, and then we had a 7-hour concept development day that the cast calls Cult Day, but I try to call it Concept Development Day. And we talked a lot about the Spotify playlist that I gave to them that was inspiration for the show, as well as a Pinterest board that I felt aesthetically signified what I wanted to convey with the production as well. And we reflected on them. We talked about the script and our characters and what values they hold. Those values inform the values of the cult. And then we talked about everything that day, ranging from oh my goodness, like what you eat, and to like religion, and ended up pulling from the Iron Age and Druid religion and more pagan gods than Christianity. I'll actually share with everybody in the Chapel Lore concept development packet, so you can see all of the changes that we made, because it's not in the program. We just highlighted the biggest ones, like the locations and the names of the power structure, everyone within the power structure. But so much, so many changes were made, and I'll include all of them right there. But every single person on cast and crew had some kind of hand in creating the cult that you saw today. Sienna, anything to add? Maybe.
We just to add, I mean, you covered so much, but some stuff specifically about like the Iron Age and like the Druid religion. We kind of like the idea of like prehistoric times and being able to fill in the gaps of what history is lacking in terms of like records of how people lived back then, and we were able to use that time period to kind of make our own little civilization, which was really fun. And it really factored into our like costuming and some of the like laurel crowns and things you see on people, which I found really fun. I think other people found it very fun too.
I also realized after proposing that this was basically like Midsommar Macbeth, like a combination of the two, and pitched it to the cast as that. And I was so nervous about people not liking the concept, but really everyone latched onto it and helped develop it, and it was really exciting.
Cool. Thanks. Okay. Okay, we have a specific question in the chat that I'm gonna send over, I think, to Evan. Evan Jenke would know the answer to this one. What was used as Macbeth's head in the bag?
So this is an actual head. It was my next door neighbor. He was really bothering me that day, and I thought that it might come in handy. Actually, it's a bunch of shirts and a shitload of coins. So that way, when I dropped it, it went. Although it jingles a little more, but it used to thunk. Shout out to the streetcar meat bag. That's what this is.
Amazing. I didn't even know that, so that's super cool. Great. Okay, we have a question asking how we managed to block the very interactive scenes by the one and only Michelle Costanzo.
I didn't
listen. I'm sorry, Mom. What was it?
Okay. How did you manage to block the very interactive scenes?
Because I am apparently a genius at fight choreography. This was my first time ever doing it. I had a very late night call with Danielle Ignacio, our artistic director, and we came up with our different groupings, and we're like, what do we do? How do we portray it on Zoom? I really don't know. So it was just a lot of trial and error and being like, what would it look like if they had their swords up here and we could like see their eyes next to the screen? We played a lot with distance. And we wanted to have like a big battle sequence, but we thought it'd be really chaotic if everybody came in at once, like the I think it's like 12 different people in battle if they all came in and were like fighting at the same time. So we broke it up into smaller sections. So there's 5 different smaller sections within a larger fight series. And it was very difficult, but I think one of my most exciting parts of the show for me. Figuring that out was really cool. Thanks, Mom. Great question.
All right, I have a question that anyone in the cast can answer. What was the hardest part of doing this on Zoom? And maybe what was the difference between doing this on Zoom versus on stage acting, as most of us are used to? Grace, you want to answer?
Yeah, I said this yesterday in the talkback as well, and this is more from a technical perspective, but the pro team was like busting our butts to try and get everything to everyone on time. I had to make the crown. I had to send, or someone had to send the pieces to Laura to make the sages' crowns. We had to send props from Party City everywhere, and like make sure that, and the other thing was ordered by a certain date so everyone could get their thing on time. It was a bit chaotic, but it all worked out. I also had to scooter over to James's house a couple of times to bring some things. So yeah, lots of deliveries and use of Amazon and other delivery sites.
Yeah, definitely. Sylvia and then Thea.
Something that was really different from an acting standpoint was basically having to do a solid portion of our own tech in addition to worrying about acting and things you would normally have to worry about as an actor, because really all that anyone could do for us that wasn't in our space was turn off our camera or change our name. And that was pretty much it. So like my roommates can probably imagine me comically running around the room because we don't have an overhead light in here, and like turning off lamp after lamp and unplugging sets of string lights and running around and changing my background and changing my name and changing my costume and doing all of that like as fast as I could. And it's very, very different than when you're an actor and really you're mainly worried about your own physical body and like the words that come out of your mouth. So that was very different.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Thea.
When it comes to acting itself, I know there's a huge difference between stage and film acting. The Good Mechanicals is a live theater troupe, primarily now. But now we, have been, manhandled into this new foray of film. And, when you're acting in person, you can make big body movements, be more expressive with your body language. Whereas here, because there's a lack of sets, there's a lack of stage space, and because the backgrounds can break up behind us, we can't move as much and show our body language to the same extent. So we rely really heavily on facial acting, which often people won't really see in live theater, especially if they're sitting in the back of the audience. So it was a real learning curve.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cass.
I think another thing that was hard was that with Zoom, there's a lot more tech that we have to manage ourselves as actors. Whereas like if we were doing a stage production, there would be like a set designed, there would be props and stuff, but we had to get our own props. We had to be responsible for changing our own Zoom backgrounds, and it would be very difficult because a lot of those changes would be very, very quick. And for me personally, I struggled a lot because my camera isn't at the top of my laptop, it's at the bottom. So that was very annoying to work with because sometimes like when I would turn off my camera, you would see my hand at the bottom of my keyboard. And it was very annoying. But yeah, like other than that, like I still really enjoyed this. It's definitely not as enjoyable as stage productions and stuff like in live theater, but I mean, it was still fun and we still had that sense of community and stuff that we always have with Rude shows.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. All right, we'll move on to another question. We have a question asking about the chemistry between certain characters, specifically Macbeth and Lily Macbeth and Macbeth and Banquo. Do any of the actors at all, or specifically those three characters, want to comment on that?
I can comment on this one a little bit. I was particularly nervous about this one because this is actually my first Rude show with these guys, so I didn't know any of them when we started this process. And as I'm sure anybody knows, like it can be really difficult to get to know people on Zoom. But luckily, I mean, the way I usually go about it is like developing like a friendship or something or some other kind of like real connection in real life and then kind of play off of that. Because then it's like you're working together like a team. And there was one day in particular that like I felt really helped, and I didn't realize how much it helped until later. But when we were able to safely and socially distance with like masks and everything, shoot our trailer for this show, which if you haven't checked that out, you definitely should. Our directors did like an amazing job with it. Shout out to Sienna for all of that. And Maya too. But yeah, so we got to meet each other for the first time in person, like a month and a half into rehearsals. And that was really great. Like that was awesome. And so that probably helped. But yeah, I think just like a lot of time, and we spent other times like FaceTiming or hanging out or whatever, like any other troupe, just online, I guess.
Go ahead, Thea.
One of the things that also helps, I think, is that the Rude Mechanicals especially have a really good culture here. We start all of our like meetings with check-ins. We all talk about our day to start off. It makes people feel listened to and feel comfortable. So even if you don't really know each other, you are able to connect in some way. Also, Julia's a sweetie, so it wasn't difficult to have on-screen chemistry with her because, like, yet again, total sweetie. So.
Cool. Here's a fun little question. Anonymous asked, when is Macbeth 2 coming out?
Tomorrow.
Anna, tell
and
them
tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. That's
My
what
eye
it is.
was gonna do that. God damn it.
We wrote a sequel for Macbeth called Fleance, where Fleance basically bumps into the witches, and the witches are like, "Hey, we're gonna mess with these people again," and tells Fleance, "Yo, you're gonna be king, and your friend Seward II Jr. is gonna have children that are gonna be kings." And then the exact plot of Macbeth repeats, but with Fleance instead. That is Macbeth 2, coming out tomorrow.
Electric.
And I end up losing my second son. It's fine.
Macbeth 3 coming out yesterday.
Amazing. We will keep everyone updated on that. Oh, okay. We have a question asking about how the entrances worked, and they said that this entrances all looked very smooth with the characters all coming out from all over the place. So I'll send that over to the directors as well because they worked very hard on them.
Thank you so much. That's very important for me. And then you said that. Thank you. We worked a very long time on transitions. I was worried about dead time in between all the different scenes. Sienna and I spent probably a good 15 hours finding all the music that we wanted to add in and cut between every scene. And we also pulled, I can drop the link to our playlist too, but we had a Macbeth playlist and it was collaborative, so everyone in the cast and crew could add to it songs that they felt fit our production, and we pulled almost all of our songs, if not all of them, from that playlist that everyone contributed to. And then entrance wise, we talk a lot about like thinking about where you're coming from before entering the screen, and we didn't want all of our entrances to be like this. Like, oh, hello, I'm ready for my scene. Like, we wanted them to physically enter the Zoom screen, their Zoom box, like they would enter the stage, and bring that energy with them that they would bring as if they were entering the stage, while thinking about all the circumstances that have led them to that moment. Sienna, anything to add?
I mean, I definitely was guilty of stressing to everyone that they should walk on screen for every entrance. Because it just, when you just appear out of nowhere, it kind of is like another reminder that we're on Zoom and we're not on a stage. And we wanted to kind of make it feel as much as possible like looking into the camera was looking at your scene partner, and like entering the space was entering the stage. And by having the walking on, it just added a little bit more to trying to be more like on stage.
Cool. We have a question for the awesome Kate Longino, asking about the characters of the Porter and Lady Macduff are different roles to portray. How did you go about studying both of those characters?
Well, okay. It was really interesting to be able to play two pretty different roles. As far as how I went about studying each role, I kind of just took them on as entirely separate entities, because they are completely different characters, and kind of really just tried to get in the headspace of each of them. I think something that was really helpful that we all had to do for this process was we filled out character sheets for all of our characters, where we would, write out all kinds of information about like their character backgrounds, even like we would write about like ways that we could substitute our own experiences into the feelings that those characters feel to really get in their headspaces. So that was really helpful. Really just kind of trying to get into each character individually. I'm trying to think, am I forgetting anything else? Well, I also, the porter was just a really fun character to play because, my main porter scene is a drunk scene, so that was pretty fun. My second drunk scene with the AU Rude Mechanicals. So, that was also kind of a very different thing that I kind of had to focus on specifically. But yeah, thanks for the question.
Apologies to Kate for typecasting you as a drunk.
It's okay. I had a great time, Maya.
Amazing, Kate. Yes, your Porter and Lily Macbeth, both amazing. All right, we have a question asking what it was like having side moments on screen when everyone else is front and center. There are multiple characters who have those scenes, so you guys can just jump on in if you want.
I think Sienna would love to talk about this.
Okay, fine. I was very excited. I love asides. I just think they're really fun. And it was very daunting, especially because Shakespeare wanted to add 5 million of them into some of these scenes. And it's hard because we don't have like the audience to go to, oh hi, like I'm doing my aside. So and then some asides were like to the audience in like soliloquy style, and some were to like another character within a scene, like the same scene, and it was like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? So we kind of came up with the like coming closer to the camera and like establishing one place that would be a soliloquy aside and establishing another that will be like to another character. So specifically like with the first scene when Banquo and Macbeth encounter the witches, and then Ross and Angus come in and give the news and everything. We really had to work with Julia and Henry and everyone to kind of figure out like, what are we gonna do? And we kind of had the idea like the people who aren't doing the aside move away and they're like doing their little side conversations to other people in the space. It definitely was one of the harder things to figure out for the Zoom format. But all the actors were just very willing to play around with what worked. And I mean, I hope it turned out well and made sense. I mean, I think personally when I'm watching, I think it looked great, but I'm biased. Yeah, if any actor wants to speak on it, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Safed.
I think the key was, look to be consistent, looking to the side, but also not like distracting to like the person who's speaking. So for example, when Macbeth is speaking off to the while everyone else is off to the side, that was one of the hardest scenes initially, but then I think we got it.
Awesome. Anyone else want to step in?
I guess I can just add like, as like kind of somebody who was at one point in like a side conversation with Macbeth, like during a banquet, and there were other people around, I kind of tried to help sort of create the similar vibe by kind of like occasionally, like kind of looking over and like kind of keeping like voice low, kind of trying to remember the vibe that there were other people that you didn't want necessarily listening to you talking about the epic murder you just committed a few moments ago. And so I think remembering that also kind of helped to differentiate. Also, we were like this close to the camera and everybody else was like further back, like Sienna said.
If I can say one more thing about the banquet scene and the asides, that's the most fun, in my opinion, to do the asides in, because you have to change. It's not just talking like randomly, because you have to change the view with how Macbeth is freaking out during that scene. So it's very fun to be talking calmly in the beginning of the scene, and then toward the end, it's a panic. The sages have no idea what's going on. It's terrifying. So it's interesting to kind of play off of the actual scene when there's no direction for the characters who are just at the table. So.
Yeah, great. Okay. With that, it is 11 o'clock, so we are going to end our talkback. Just so you know, our director just dropped the playlist for the show into the chat if you want to take a look at the music that was used. They're very catchy. I personally love them. So does the cast. Everyone, great choices of music, Sienna and Maya. But yes, thank you again for coming to our production of Macbeth. We hope you enjoyed it, and we wish you a safe and healthy evening. Bye. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye.